Howdy. Texas auction property exposed here today. We're going to show you a property in Texas and blow the lid off Texas auction property. This property here on my screen is listed for 750 grand. It's going to auction with an opening bid of just $66,000. So that means up to 90% below market value. So today we're going to blow the lid off this. Is this for real? Is it a scam? Is this just some guy online saying, hey, that's not really going to happen. It's going to get bid up to market value. These properties never go. I can tell you, sometimes at government auctions, properties sell dirt cheap. I bought a property is worth 75 grand for just 6,100 bucks. So if you've ever wanted to get into real estate and buy some cheap property, government auctions can be an amazing way to scoop up some deals. But the hard thing is you have to actually show up to these auctions. The cool thing is many of them are online. So often you don't have to leave your chair, which is cool. The one we're going to show here is an exceptional opportunity that's coming up if you've ever wanted to get a good deal. Most people think real estate investing is paying full price on Zillow or getting that call from the realtor who shopped the property around to all their investor friends and then lists it to you because there's no money in the deal. We want to show you an alternate way to find some amazing deals here on this channel. So that's what it's dedicated to. I'm Dustin Hahn, and we're here on this channel to show you how to buy some cheap government auction properties through tax deed investing is the name of the game we are here to play. So we've got the cowboy hat out because it's Texas, and I think that is a Texas law to wear a cowboy hat when talking about Texas these days. So we're going to dive into that here today, and you guys can follow along, and we're going to follow along with this property to see what the deal is. We're going to bring in Cowboy Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Hello, howdy. I just got this hat.
A bit of a wardrobe issue with your hat.
Yeah, it's just on top of the old headset, but I think it looks great.
It's all right. We don't pretend to be astronauts or doctors, but we can definitely be cowboys in the live stream and find some properties for these folks. So let's do it. It's just sitting up there. Good stuff. So we found this property here. It's going to go to auction. This is going to be a Texas auction. We've been to tons of these auctions. Often properties go for good deals. Now, the disclaimers, right? We can't make any promise. The headline on this Texas auction property exposed, 90% off, question mark. Sometimes these properties go for opening bid. Sometimes these properties get bid up to market value or beyond market value. The thing is with an auction, if you are persistent, you can win long term. Maybe you get a deal at your first auction. Maybe you get a deal at your 5th auction or 10th auction. But the thing is if you show up, life-changing deals can happen that can create some great freedom. So let's go over here, Josh, and let's see what they're doing. Oh, before we dive in real quick, for anybody who tunes in, we always give away a free mini course below on how to do this in the description. If you want to check that out, we got like 3,000 videos on this topic. So let's see what's cooking on this property here and do some research. We'll also show you some houses. And remember, the processes we follow can be used in pretty much every single state. So let's dive in. We got your screen here, Josh, and I'll remove mine and away we go.
Okay, nice. Okay, and just for any good folks that are hanging out here today, let us know where you're from in the city and any questions that you have, because we do go back and we look at the comments and we do tailor the content based on what people want. So let's check it out. Here, we're going to start from Google. And so this way you can find this property, you can replicate the process. I'm going to type Harris County tax sale. And so this is a government auction, but the reason that it's going to auction is because the back taxes are not paid. So it's a tax deed auction. And just here's a little bit of a write-up from the county, just saying buyer beware. So they're not making any warranty about the condition or about what's going on.
Josh, can you let them know the disclaimer of the public information here?
Right, definitely. And so just for the YouTube algorithm, this is not sensitive data. This is all public record. This is public information. They post this at the courthouse. They post this on the property. And so, yeah, nothing here is sensitive or private. This is all public. So what I did is I just sorted this by a judged value. I wanted to see if there was anything outrageous that was going to be going to this auction. And here it is. This is the first thing that popped up. And so you can see how juicy this looks because the minimum bid is $66,000. and the judged value is 912. So, we're getting up to close to $1 million. And one of the things that I just want to point out really quickly is that at Harris County, there are different kinds of sales that happen at this government auction. And so it's not all tax sale property. It's not all tax deeds. And a lot of times with these high ticket, high value items, it's not actually a tax sale. But in this case, this is a true tax sale. The reason we can tell is it says type sale. So this is a tax sale. So they are behind on taxes, and that's why it's going to auction. Sometimes some of these say EOS, which means execution. This is not a tax sale, but it's at the tax sale auction. And so a lot of times, someone has got a property. In this case, it's worth close to $1 million. Maybe they have a loan on the property, and the lien holder is actually foreclosing. So that could be an execution sale, or it could be the HOA. But in this case, this is actually for the back taxes, which is pretty wild. We can see right here, it includes taxes from 2022 to 2024. So they've been delinquent for a few years. This isn't just 1 year of unpaid taxes. This is 2. Now, the interesting thing is that, when you buy a property at a tax sale, you can't go inside. So you don't really know what the condition is like. But every now and then, you actually find a property listed on the market. And so when we take this property address and throw it into Google, you can see that there's a dental center there. You've got the doctor's name. There's some reviews, but it's actually for sale on LoopNet. So this is pretty wild because it's not every day that you can actually get to see the interior photos. You get to see what it's like. And there's a lot of information here. So it's currently occupied 30% already with the tenants in there. There's 2 separate structures. And this is the interesting thing about the tax sales is that generally these kinds of properties, because you do have to pay in cash, it limits the pool of buyers. And so we saw a property worth 6 million that sold for 3, so 50 cents on the dollar. So there's a very, very high likelihood that this property sells for 50 cents on the dollar or less. And so it's currently listed right now for $750,000, and it's been on the market since September of last year. And so if the opening bid is 66 grand and it's got an adjudged value of 912, to go and kind of meet the standard or the norm, it wouldn't sell really for more than $450,000. That would be the norm for these kinds of properties at the Harris County tax sale. So sells for $450,000, or less, and it's on the market for $750,000. And so this is pretty wild. And obviously it could sell for more or it could sell for less. It could go for $125,000. You never know. Maybe it's a holiday weekend and everybody's out partying and there's a low auction. Not many people show up. Stuff like this can sell, for 10 cents on the dollar, 30 cents on the dollar. And so just a wild opportunity. It is a legit tax sale. It's going to clear up the back taxes. It's going to wipe out everybody on title who has an interest. So if there's a mortgage, they're going to get wiped out. If there's lien holders, they're going to get wiped out. And you got photos here. You got some insider knowledge. Let's see. Do we have anything from the inside? No. So we don't have any photos on the interior, but we do have some information. We do see that there's the dental office inside. 30% leased. So a pretty wild deal. It's not every day you see $1 million commercial property going to auction in Houston with an open bid of 66 grand.
Very cool. Very cool. So that's the first one today on our list. In a few minutes, we're going to dive in, look at some of the properties coming up here at this government auction. So before we dive in, let us know your name and your city and state you're tuning into, and we will tailor the stream based on who's here. We got another county. We got Grimes County, Texas. So we could check that out in a little bit as well. And we can dive into this. So let us know who's here. If you have any questions, put them in the comments as well. We will answer any questions you have. And let us know any deals that you might have done so far, what you bought it for, how much you made, what you sold it for, or what your plans are. So for folks who are tuning in, we often get people who watch the channel here in the chat. Let us know what type of deals they do in this business, because if you're new to government auctions and tax liens and tax deeds, this stuff can sound very far-fetched. And, the questions of if this works so well, why isn't everybody doing it? Or if it works so well, why do these guys have a YouTube channel on it? Obviously this is online, so you need to be careful. One thing I can say is that our channel has been around for over 10 years. There are videos going, I think there's over 3,000 videos here on this channel. So, for us, this is not some fly by night operation. So we're excited to provide you guys with lots of value and show you how to do this. So hit the thumbs up or subscribe if you're new. Any questions you have, put them in the comments. This is live right now. So today we're talking about Texas, and Texas is a great state to do this business. And here's why. It is a redeemable deed state, which means there's a 6-month redemption period in Texas. If they redeem you, you get a 25% interest on your money that you put in. So the thing about this to remember is most of the time you get the property, like 98% of the time. We've actually never been redeemed on properties in Texas, and there's been well over 50 transactions that we have done there over the years. So don't count on the interest. And if people are talking to you like, oh, wow, Texas, 25% interest. Yeah, but it doesn't really happen that often. Most of the time you get the property, because think about it. If a property is worth 100 grand, the opening bid's 10, you get it for 20. The homeowner has to pay interest on that bid on top of their taxes. So no fun there. So Texas, 254 counties, or is it 256, Josh? I don't remember. 254, 256.
It's good.
We'll go 256, I think. Anyways, regardless, they have the most auctions of anywhere. These auctions happen the first Tuesday of every single month. Some of them are in person. Some of them you can do online, which is great. Like we go to the Houston sale and we'll have people with us who are bidding on property in Houston on one auction on their phone and then another auction on their iPad, doing it virtually. So for you guys here, maybe you're in California, maybe you're in Florida, and you can do this stuff remotely, which is very, very cool. So coming back to Texas, remember, you will also see properties that have, it's called a homestead exemption. So if they've filed a homestead exemption, the redemption period is 2 years on that. And we generally avoid those, even though there's a little bit of an appealing interest rate of 25% the first year, 50% the second year. It's just not worth it to have your money tied up that long. So a couple things to be aware of in Texas, like Josh says, just because a property is at a tax auction doesn't mean it's a tax auction property. It can be a HOA, homeowner association property, because in Texas, the delinquent property homeowner associations can get the same sheriff to auction off the property with the property taxes, except the difference is the following. That mortgage is not wiped out. And that is a big benefit of tax auctions, as they wipe out, mortgages, which is very awesome. IRS liens will fall off as well. So that is very, very good news about investing in these auctions, but you have to do your research on this sort of stuff. The worst thing you can do is just shoot from the hip. We see that all the time. People come to us for kind of damage control. They maybe hear about this, and obviously investing involves some risk. You have to do your research on this, and they buy something that they think is a good deal, $100,000 house for say 20 grand, and there's a $100,000 mortgage on it, and then boom, your good deal turns into a potentially leading to divorce deal.
Oh dear.
Depending on the spousal support level you have in this operation. But if you do your research, there can be amazing deals out there. And that's what we're here to show you guys. And the thing to always keep in mind is everybody's on their own timeline. Like for me, I got my first deal 2 days after hearing about this industry from a 3-day seminar. So my first auction, 2 days later, I was in the game and I was hooked. For you guys, maybe it's your first deal, maybe it's your first auction. Some people might take longer, but if you're persistent, you can get great deals, because the alternative is, there's hardly any, there's just scraps on Zillow, realtors. By the time you hear about it, they've already shopped it around to all of their smart investors. And if they've passed on it, it means you're kind of the sucker last in line most of the time. So that's something to keep in mind. And we really, really like Texas. So we're going to look at a few more Texas properties coming up here. And we are actually going to this auction in, is it April, Josh?
That's right. Yeah, we're going
So we
for
will be
April.
there in April. So if anybody wants to join us on one of these auction trips, there's a link below. You can schedule a call and we could see about getting you from behind the screen to doing a deal with us in person. So put any questions you have. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Good to see everybody here today. Somebody's saying, is 5K realistic enough to start? Absolutely. 5K can be a solid starting point. There's lots of land that goes up at these sales for a couple $1,000s. Sometimes we talk about over-the-counter tax deeds for a couple $100 as well, which is a great starting point. Sometimes there are houses that will go for $5,000 or $6,000. So if you have $5,000, you get the list and you basically chop it up. Anything over your opening bid, exclude, and anything under $5,000, that's going to be stuff you take a swing at as well. Yeah, so somebody's saying what of the counties we're looking at here today. We're looking at some Harris County, but we can also maybe in a little bit look at this Grimes County, Texas as well, which is why we want you guys to put your comments. We can pivot here. Let's see. Somebody's here from Ontario, San Bernardino. Excellent. Those guys, I think their auction's coming up very soon as well. Once you buy the property, can you use it in the first year? So yeah, remember in Texas, although it's a 6-month redemption, you get the property that day. You just can't sell it for 6 months. So it's not necessarily that you can't sell it. It's just that most probably people wouldn't buy it because there's a redemption period on that property. Is the name of the game. What's happening? Lydia, good to see you. Collin County, Texas. Somebody's saying here, are the liens wiped out on properties in California? If it is a tax deed property, the mortgages and the liens will be wiped out. However, the county will not wipe out its own municipal liens. So for example, we've seen sometimes grass cutting liens for like $50,000. So that could kill your deal very quickly. So watch out for those things. Let's see. Somebody's got a good question here. Do you pay for title searches on each and every potential property? I found a property that charges $150 a pop. I want to know about 6 properties. It's a big expense. Well, we have the title master here himself. Josh, what's your thought there?
So that would cost a lot of money for sure. The other thing too is that at $150 a pop, it might take them, let's say, 2 weeks to get the property to you. And so what would usually happen is, let's say you've got 6 properties that you're interested in, $150 a pop, you pay for those, let's say 3 weeks out. And then the properties get to you, or you get the title searches, in 3 weeks. And by the time they get to you, maybe instead of 6 properties, now only 2 are actually going to the auction. And so when you think about this as a monthly expense, it is going to cost quite a bit of money. And the other thing is that in Texas, especially, we're not necessarily, well, yeah, we're worried about the title search, but we also need to do a lawsuit search, like a court record search. And so it's 2 pieces because in Texas, the title search on its own is helpful. It's going to explain a lot of information, but it needs to be accompanied with the lawsuit report. And so a title company's not going to give you a lawsuit report. They're just looking at the title and the history of that title, and they go out and they excavate all of that information and put it in a document for you. But to be 100% thorough, then you would actually have to go hire an attorney to then go through the lawsuit report. And so now you're looking at, more than $150 a pop. And so you can do that starting out, but it's going to cost a lot of money. And like I said, a lot of those properties may redeem. And so we teach people how to do title. We learned a long time ago from someone who actually sells title records. They do lawsuit reports and title searches, and so they charge for each of those. But he used to do a course maybe like 10 years ago. He doesn't actually teach anymore though. It just runs the business. But so we learned, and then we do it ourselves, which just saves a lot of time and money because we do title searches right before the auction. And that way we're only actually putting that effort into properties that we're fairly certain are going to go. Because let's say the auction's on Tuesday, it's generally Monday after 12 o'clock when the properties start dropping off. And just what I mean is that they can pay the back taxes up until the auction to stop it from going to auction. And everybody just seems to wait to the last minute. And so that's where, if you buy a whole bunch of title searches, that's going to really add up. And yeah, with the like we teach how to do that, and so that's the much better way to go.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. Answers this question here. Do you do your own title searches? Do you recommend paying for a title search? Great questions on the title here. And for anybody tuning in, if you have a question, put it in the chat. Be happy to get to it. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from, city, state, and we can often customize the experience here for you guys. Let's see. Somebody's saying, have you considered creating a software platform similar to Parcelfare? We've thought about creating many softwares over the years, and there's obviously a lot that goes into it, and it's very challenging. Part of the advantage of being a tax lien and deed investor is that there are 1,500 tax lien and deed, or 1,500 tax deed counties, 1,500 tax lien counties, give or take a couple hundred. And every single one of them has their own rules, often their own systems. Some of these are in the Stone Age when it comes to their technology. So it's really hard to make a actual software that plugs in, at least at this point. Below this video is the directory that we have, and often old school is fine. Like, we have all the phone numbers for all the counties. So for you guys to get started, the easiest thing to do, like if you're in Idaho, just call them up, go to the website and ask when that auction is, and you will be in the game. So for everybody here as well, if you're wondering where, what's what as far as tax lien states, tax deed states, where should you go? We created here a free map online to show everybody. And basically what it is, so check it out. Take a screenshot of this, and anything in red is going to be your tax deed states. Anything in blue is going to be a hybrid state, meaning like Texas, or sorry, a redeemable deed, like Texas or Georgia, Tennessee or South Carolina, meaning there could be a redemption period on the tax deed. Texas is 6 months. But consider where you are and then take a picture of this. So for example, Florida does both liens and deeds. But if you come to this map, you can click on it and see what's going on. We have somebody in California. Click on it and you can learn about it. The best way to get to it is just go to our homepage, Tax Lien School, and click on this Knowledge Vault tab, and you'll be taken right here. This is free for everybody, and it's essential we wanted to create something that we wished we had when we got started. A lot of people charge thousands of dollars for this, and it's just our gift to our community to help you get started. So we had San Bernardino earlier. If you just click here, it will take you to all of the articles. Check it out. So we have all the articles on the left-hand side here. You mentioned San Bernardino. We got the links to the county. So you can just pop down San Bernardino County. We click on that, and that auction is going to be coming up. But this is literally like the encyclopedia. We have a video on San Bernardino County, details on the auction, how to start, all sorts of good stuff on that. So you can just come to Tax Lien School and you're off to the races for that, to start finding these auctions.
Hey, Dustin.
Yeah.
I just had a quick point about Parcelfare while we're on the subject there.
Yeah.
So we've used Parcelfare before, and last time I was in Parcelfare, I got so excited. They have a list of what's called over the counter. So it's just properties that haven't sold at an auction, and sometimes they're like sitting there and you can make offers, which is great. And I was looking through Parcelfare, and I saw a property that was worth like 950,000 or something like that, and the back taxes were 12K, or it was like so low. And I got really excited, and I started looking at plane tickets. I'm like, I'm gonna go fly out there, and I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And I thought I should just wait and make sure that this is actually there. And so one of the downsides of Parcelfare that I noticed is that they may have a list of properties that are available, but I did cross-reference it with properties that the county had, and it was quite different. And so just whenever you're using stuff like that, or like third-party sites or any kind of sites, it's always best to go back and reference the county, because if the county says that this property is available and Parcelfare says it's available, then it's legit. But sometimes Parcelfare has properties that it's pulling from I don't know where, and they're not actually available at the county. So just a rule on due diligence there, and Parcelfare, any third-party websites, always just bring it back to the county. Because I almost bought a plane ticket and flew out there, and then I realized the property didn't actually exist.
Nice. Good stuff. Let's see. If you have any questions, put them in there. Let's see. Josh do you recommend any services that bid on your behalf at an in-person Texas auction? You know what? We haven't used them before. I can't comment on that, but I feel like we should maybe research it a bit. Have you seen or worked with them? Or I know you haven't worked with them, but it would make sense that people are offering that service.
Yeah, I haven't seen it because the liability I think would be so huge because you would have to give someone cashier's checks. Which okay, less liability actually if you're doing cashier's checks versus um cash. And we've actually done this before with a realtor. And so we have successfully done this. And it worked out better because they would just put down like 5 or 10% at the auction. And then we would wire the balance that was picking up sheriff sales or sheriff sale properties in Ohio. But yeah, that's a great question. We're going to do a little bit of due diligence on that, and we'll bring that back to a future meeting because yeah, I could see how there would be a need for that. And in some
Mhm.
states, you actually have to be within the state to attend the auction. It's pretty rare, but there's some rules. And in those areas, they do have third parties that offer that. So yeah, we'll look into this and get back to you.
Yeah, and that's a pretty cool. It's a good comment that comes up because in Texas, there's a lot of in-person auctions. There's a lot of online auctions. For example, Harris County, you have to go in person. And part of the challenge there is, well, maybe you want to get a property in Harris, but you live in California. So part of the challenge, which I'd be curious if there is a system. Actually, do you know the name of the site? We could look at it as well. Ross, I think it's Ross. If you know the name of it, we would be interested actually in seeing kind of what they're doing with that, because from our perspective, we're curious how they navigate the the risk factor, right? So say you guys are like, oh, I want to bid on that property, but it's an in-person property auction only, and you want to bid, you have 50 grand, you want to bid, right? The only way we kind of see it is like you have to trust that person with your money and
Mhm.
trust that they're going to make the right decision and trust that they're not just going to run away with that money, because there is a time from the moment they receive that money to securing it that what's stopping them from taking that money and buying the property in their own name, or
Yeah.
going to Mexico.
The other
So
risk too is that the county doesn't care where the money comes from. And so if it's your cashier's check, they could technically go and bid in their own name and use
mhm.
your money. And then now they have a property using your money. So you financed it, but you don't own it. And so a lot of trust there for sure.
Definitely, definitely. Let's see. We got Pennsylvania here. We've done a lot in Pennsylvania as well. Appreciate all the comments, everybody tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Any questions you have on OTC properties? Do you run title on past property owners or just the parcel, Josh?
Yeah, good question. So think about it like this. So the property goes to a tax sale, and generally municipal liens will not get wiped out. And so what happens is that if you were to buy it, and let's say there's a $10,000 grass lien, so you buy it, and the grass lien doesn't get wiped out. So now it's your problem, right? And so when the county takes it, just think about it instead of you buying it, think about the county buying it. But it's not they didn't technically buy it, but it's the same thing where now it becomes their property, but they also inherit it the same way that you would inherit it. So it being county owned doesn't mean that that $10,000 grass lien gets extinguished. So when the county takes ownership of it, they're taking it as is. So let's say there's a municipal lien that doesn't get wiped. They're taking it as is with the municipal lien not getting wiped. And then when you get it from the county, you're doing the same thing. You're taking it from the county with that municipal lien as is not wiped. So the only difference is that it's county owned, but just replace it, because if somebody bought it at the tax sale and that municipal lien doesn't get wiped, that's the same thing that's happening to the county. So you always got to do that title search, and you would just check the previous owner's name. Because if you look and you see it's not owned, by anybody anymore because it's owned by the county, you just have to go back one and trace it and see who owned it and search their name. Mostly just for municipal liens, though.
Excellent. Somebody's saying how to go about reaching. I imagine you're saying research, perhaps. Philadelphia deeds for free. So we do quite a bit in Philadelphia, and you'll always want to go and do your deed search in the county record. If we have some time, maybe we can go into that in a little bit, or maybe we do a Pennsylvania specific stream as well. But we do quite a bit in Philadelphia. Josh, maybe instead of diving in, just a quick comment on that one.
Yeah, because I mean, we've done stuff like this before, and just what happens is those are pretty detailed documents, and so YouTube doesn't really like us doing that, because that is actually sensitive data that is available, but it's hard to find. But what you would do is the easiest way would be like Philadelphia deed search, for instance, and that's going to bring up the recorder's office. And so from that website, you can get to a page called Docs. So if you just do it in Google, Philadelphia deed search, and then pretty much the across the country, you're always just going to research the person's name. So the owner's name. If there's two sections to search it, you'll search in both. Usually it's called grantor and grantee, but we do a lot of coaching and training about that. And so if you're wanting to do a title search, maybe some of our products would be good for that. But that's kind of the cliff notes. Now, the one problem with Pennsylvania is that if you want to find liens, you have to go to a second website. So everywhere else in the country, they put it on one web page, but in Pennsylvania, you have to go to a second web page. And so for that, you have to go to court records. It's called the First Judicial Branch, something, something, something. If you type that though, you'll get there. But yeah, when we try to do these searches on YouTube, it just doesn't like it very much. But that's the cliff notes. That's the crux of it.
Nice. Jeremiah is saying here from California in construction, want to use your cash to purchase property, thinking about Pennsylvania. Yeah, like we do Philly virtual auctions quite regularly. And what's nice is it's an online auction. You only have to put down 10%. And you can do this stuff virtually, which kind of ties into a couple questions here, which is what do we use to view the property? How do you view the property without being there, without physically being there for placing a bid? So yeah, like in Philly, for example, the auction's online, so you can bid online, which is great. When it comes to viewing the property, first step is always using like the Google Maps, right? You can use the street view to see what's going on within the last year or two, which is a starting point. One of the mistakes rookies make is we've seen people bid hundreds of thousands of dollars on property that they only have seen on Google Streets. And then we drove by the property and it's flooded or burnt down or bulldozed. And people make terrible mistakes off of that. It happens at every auction. You wouldn't believe it. So what we do is we hire somebody like a Uber driver or, off like a photographer to just use their phone and go take pictures of the property for us, take pictures of the neighbor's property on the left, on the right, so we can clearly see the addresses are lining up, is what we do. And we pay them like, $20 an hour to go drive those properties. So that's basically as far as the tools go. It's not too complicated. Let's see. Somebody tried submitting a request for 14 over-the-counter properties in Alabama. Only got one reply, no deal available. Part of the game. So the biggest hurdle for most folks in this business is if you're willing to do a little bit of the boring work and message the county like you did, take a proper swing, that's if you keep doing it, you will get deals. And unfortunately, most people don't ever get success in this business because it's a little bit of boring work. The cool thing these days is this boring work can be done at home. Back in the day, we used to have to travel, hop on planes, all this sort of stuff. So, if it takes you requesting to 10 counties and then you land on one and you get something for the back taxes owed, the thing about this business is one deal can make it all pay off. We know a guy, he went a whole year, didn't buy anything, went to auctions every single month. And then in his second year, got like $2.9 million worth of real estate for $280,000. But for that whole year, he didn't get anything. So everybody's timeline will be different. But the biggest complaint that we get is like, oh, I spent 15 hours researching an auction and they all got bid up or, they got redeemed. And like, that's okay. Think about a profession that can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, whether it's, flying an airplane, a doctor or a nurse or a lawyer. Think of how much time and school and money you have to invest before you're even in the game. So if you just put a fraction of that time into this business, it can help you make a lot of money and even, part-time transition a person out of the full-time job of their doctor or lawyer position. Yeah, Philadelphia here. How do you view the property? Yeah, so we mentioned that one as well. 525 deposits.
Yeah, it's just the deposit on bid for assets, and 25 of that is non-refundable, but the $500 is.
Nice, nice. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Any more questions, Josh? Anything else? Oh, we were going to show a house.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, you know what? Since there's so many people that are in different states too, let me just show you realauction.com, and then just to answer the question too about 5 grand being enough. So here's realauction.com, and a ton of Texas is moving towards realauction.com. And so if I click clients, I go real foreclose, client filters, and I go Texas. And so there's so many different, there's so many states in Texas. There's a lot. And so they do 24 online auctions here. And so if you want to see, for instance, Montgomery County, it's coming up on the 2nd, I believe. There we go. So these are the upcoming properties, and sometimes there's really juicy spreads. So this is actually outrageous. 24 grand opening bid worth 409,000. Amazing, unreal. You got the court record number here too. They call it the case cause number. But let's check it out. So this looks magical. This looks beautiful. Oh, I thought there was a photo there. We could do a little street view, of course. We don't trust the street view, but oh, maybe we okay, yeah, we should be able to. Zooming in here. I'm gonna drag the little guy, get right here on the street. No, they don't look, Google didn't do that one, so we can't
Oh,
actually look at a street view, but looks like maybe we'll get it from somewhere else. But it's looking, aha, there we go. Yeah, so this thing looks unreal. Built in 2011. So it was previously on the market. And so here's the access to some photos. So this thing is incredible. So this has got an opening bid. Let me go back to that again. Yeah, $24,000, which is really low for a house built in 2011 that looks like this. And so you always want to go ahead though and check when were these photos, and then if they let's say been delinquent for 5 years, right? Maybe they bought the property and haven't been paying taxes since. That would kind of come into the equation, because then you would assume, okay, if they haven't been paying taxes, maybe they haven't been taking good care of the property. And so you just want to make sure that you look at the photos. Now, if these were from a year ago, that would be quite different. But if these were back from 2011, then that would matter. But what you can do is, if you're curious what property sells for, and because I mean this is incredible, right? And so maybe it sells for 30 cents on the dollar, 50 cents, maybe they buy it for more than market, which would be abnormal, but it does happen. You can always go back to previous auctions and see what they sold for last time or last month. So if we go back to the last time they had an auction, and some of these smaller counties, they don't do auctions every month. But here you go. So you can see what the amount that the property sold for and what the adjudged value is. So this one sold for about 50 cents on the dollar, or a little less, if the adjudged value is accurate. And so that's what you want to see. You want to be attending auctions where property sells for, no more than 50 cents on the dollar. So here's 651,000 for adjudged value. Now remember, we're not saying it's worth that much. This is how the county has it assessed. But that one sold for, less than 50 cents on the dollar. This one might have sold for more, but it could be wrong. And so that's how you can come in and you can see um, and see. And so, if 5K is the budget, you can go ahead and look at previous results and find auctions where pieces of land are selling for less than 5K, and there's an upside. So this is 63 grand on 280. So we're really liking that. This is getting to the 30 cents on the dollar range, which we're fans of. So yeah, it's all available there. You can be doing this from anywhere, which is incredible. So yeah, check out realauction.com, look at past results, and get in the game.
excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Good show here today. It is time to take action. Very important to take action in this game, in this business here. And, the easiest thing to do is to go check out the knowledge vault that we showed you here, pick a county, and take some action. So head over to this map. You can click on anything, get the details you want, and take action right now. You can check out some more of our videos. All you need to do is go to Tax Lien School, click on the knowledge vault, and this is the most valuable free resource for tax lien and deed investors online. We got a whole little army that fuels this thing, and we've heard from many people they've paid thousands of dollars for resources that have been terrible. So this is our gift to you for free, and you can go check it out and combine it. There's this link below the video to get this ABCs of tax lien and deed investing to walk you through it with the mini course down below, and this will have you in the game this afternoon. Is the most important thing we're trying to do to help anybody out as well. And then if you want to join us at the Texas auction coming up here soon, you can schedule a call down below and we can see if it's a fit. Let's see, a couple more quick questions. Any tips on comps, Josh? Texas non-disclosure.
Using PropWire, because you can tap into MLS information for free. So any non-disclosure state, you can go ahead, use PropWire, and that solves that problem.
Great. And then this is a good question. So one of our students bought some land for $250. Well, it was a mobile home. The question here is, did it include the land? And yeah, it did. He got it for $250, spent $500 cleaning it up, and then sold it for 15 grand cash. But when you're dealing with mobile homes, always be careful if that includes the land. Very important to check that out. So good stuff, guys. We appreciate the questions. We appreciate everybody. It's time to get started. Take some action. Call 5 counties, dive in, grab the book, head to Tax Lien School, check out some of our videos. All of that's below in the description. We appreciate everybody. Come back, let us know what type of deals you got, and we'll be here to help you guys every step of the way. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.